Hi, Yvonne.
Hello, hello. Hi, Evie. Great to see you as always. How are you?
Fine, I'm hot. Which is nice because, of course, it's the summer.
Sweltering that
So,
heat. Excellent,
uh,
excellent. Fantastic. Well, here we are on another week of our myth-busting mission. Really kind of focusing on the patterns, the language, the stories that we tell ourselves that hold us captive in many ways, that we get so stuck in them and they become so deeply embedded. Half the time we don't actually realize that we're using them, that we're in them. So I think for me, Evan, I don't know how you feel, like doing this series we've done it so that we can open the eyes for others, but actually it's done a bit of eye-opening for myself, really kind of seeing where every so often, not all the time, but every so often, the patterns still kind of find their way through, regardless of the amount of work you've done, and actually being able to have that level of awareness where you can catch them quickly and then do something different.
100%. I think that like everything that we do, I think it always helps us as well as everybody else that is listening, or whoever is listening. And you said something fantastic. I love this. We are in it. When you are in it, it's very hard to see where you are in because you're in it,
Yes.
like a fish in water. You don't really know because, well, water is everywhere, so you don't pay attention to it. It's like air is everywhere, we don't pay attention to it. And it's the same with this type of patterns. Once we're in it, hard to see, hard to get out. But when somebody nudge or tells us or brings it forward, like even to ourselves, like we're
Yes.
doing here, it's sort of like, okay, there are sometimes that this insists why.
Yes.
um, and then it creates a whole lot of different idea of like start working on it and finding out what is the pattern, what has created it, how can we have less of it. um,
Yes. Yeah. And understanding, even as you were just saying that, just understanding that it is the consistency that helps us to level it up or level it down, to kind of reduce its impact. It is being aware and then being consistent in the practice that we find that supports us in bringing down that overuse and the overplay of these patterns. And I guess that's why I know we're both on the same page with this. Positive intelligence has been just such a gift because it really has provided us with a resource that allows us to always, to have awareness so much of the time. And I don't mean that in an overwhelming way, but in a way that allows us to think, oh, I see what's happening here. Okay. No judgment, no beating up, but just an opportunity to do something different and move away from it.
yeah, and I think this is important that we, when you get to that stage of like that you can observe yourself and that you can say, all right, something is going on here, I know it's not serving me, let me see how can I fix it without really spiraling and going to that you know sense of like judgment and like anxiety and all these things. Because sometimes when things like that come up, you might think, oh, why have I done this? Beat yourself up. Why haven't I learned about this like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever? But come on, let's face it, there is no better time than now.
Yeah.
And if you think like that, then it's much easier to just observe, see the patterns, and then get to the stage where you can serve yourself better. And that's the good
Absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely. And actually, I always love how Shazad says the minute you start beating yourself up over something. So if you suddenly catch yourself in a pattern and you're like, oh, for goodness sakes, I'm doing it again, and then you start beating yourself up, all you're doing is just giving power to the saboteurs yet again to build another layer, right? So we're just giving them more power. So the whole point is to be able to recognize them and just say, okay, I see it. I see it. What do I need to do to bring myself to be present in this moment? So, what is the practice that I'm going to do to make that happen? and what might I do when I feel myself in the situation that brought me to that place in the first place? When it happens again, what is it? What is it that I'm going to do before I allow it to take over? So there's just it, and do you know what? You can make it fun. You know me. I love to call my saboteurs out, but I do it with fun because there is no reason to beat myself up over it. I'm human. So I'm good with that, right? So I'm so over that now. But you can just have fun and make light with it while still doing the work that really helps you to shift away from those patterns. Because we know that if we stay in that space where the patterns run the show, we are limiting our perspective, we're limiting our potential, we are not functioning optimally. We're not getting the best of ourselves. And I think ultimately that's what we all want for ourselves and each other, I would like to think.
100%. And like the moment you realize how easy it is to get in command of your not senses, of your thoughts, basically, then why would you want to do it any other way? I think that is like the bottom line.
Yeah,
It's hard enough. I mean, life can be like tricky, I suppose, for all of us. But if we know we can do something about it, and we can make fun with it, and enjoy it, and make it into a game, well, we're better off for it, I suppose.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Well, it's certainly more fun laughing and being joyful with it than it is being angry and frustrated with it. That I can tell you 100 times over.
yeah, and it's more likely that you're going to find solutions to whatever problems you're facing in a better way, or
Yeah,
in a more relaxed way, if you are in control, in command of your own thoughts. So yeah,
yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely. So what
So,
are the
so
self the myth busting that we're doing today?
Well, the first one is, and I'm sure many people will relate to this. What if I fail? Oh my goodness gracious me! Yeah, for me, I find this such an interesting one because I, as I was kind of looking at it, I was thinking, I'm not sure if I have ever said it out loud, but I sure as hell have said it many times inside. I literally am like, I
Absolutely.
don't think I've ever said out loud, well, what if I fail? What if I fail? I don't think I ever have verbalized it, but it has most definitely been a pattern that has, and I'm going to say come and gone, because there've been periods when it just seems to evaporate. And maybe it's kind of when something new or something different or is on the table, it just rolls back in again. Oh, but you're going to do that, but you haven't done that before. What if you fail? You know,
Hmm.
uh, and although this is very avoider type conversations and controller, I also think there's just a lot of judge in that. It's just the judge will most definitely come out to play.
Very much so, and also I believe because there are a lot of things that are working. It has to do with external validation as well. Um, that particular phrase, and we all have used it, as you said, inside or out. We all have used it, and it has to do with how we perceive our success generally, I think. And what if I fail has to do more with others, I think, than it has to do with ourselves. Because
Yeah.
we all have heard, and especially people that are dealing with things that are not mainstream, are not common, are not that, others are always there judging, right? And they're like, oh, you, where is the evidence that you will make it happen, blah 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 blah. And these things we might just say, okay, I don't pay attention to that, but we do. And that's what causes that what if I fail sentence to come forward and play in our minds, no matter what we do. And I find that it's mostly present when I'm in the verge of doing something big. And it is, I know, I can feel it, that there is something big coming along. And what if I fail is the one thing that is like keeps me spinning my wheels.
Yeah.
And there isn't a bigger myth than that, because I'm a strong believer. They're like, okay, fail fast, So if you fail, so what? The next thing is going to work out, or the one after that, or whatever. So
Yeah.
it is a huge myth, and
It's the
it's
meaty
something that
one.
keeps us
But,
going. Yeah,
and like you were just saying there, Evie, the whole point is we have to stop and just say, so what if I do fail? What is wrong with that? Like, how is failure the bad thing? But of course, when we go back to school, failing was never an option, right? Failing was,
that's
no,
right.
that's wrong, it's bad, you're stupid if you fail. There was so much tied into not failing that that no wonder so many people come to that, what if I fail? And yet, here I sit and I think, if I do anything now and I fail, i.e., for me, that means it doesn't go the way that I had wanted or hoped that it would go, what is the issue? That's based on it didn't go the way that I wanted or expected it to go. So what else might I do? Is it that I'm doing the wrong thing completely, or is it that I need to do this in a different way? Is there somebody who I need to get support to help me do this thing? There are all these doors that I can refer to. But initially, you just get so stuck in your head of the embarrassment, and I'm going to use these words, the embarrassment of doing something and it not going the way that you had hoped, said, expected. And again, like you said, very outward focused, because what's the embarrassment? That other people will call you out, other people think, oh, she thinks she knows what she's doing, but she doesn't really, and all of that kind of stuff. And the sooner we kind of break through and move away from all of that cluttered thinking that doesn't serve us, it usually puts us into places of procrastination and withholding the very thing we're supposed to be gifting. We need to get past that and actually just say, if failure, bring it on. Bring it on.
Absolutely. And I mean, the other thing that is tied into that is that, okay, if you are so worried about failing, who is in your life that can help you out with that? Because that's another thing that we're not very good at, especially when we are in moments that we are worried about failing, or that something is happening, and we're like holding on to the outcome, we're holding on to the things that need to happen before we get there, and all these things. But I mean, why hold on? See who can help,
Yeah.
and then ask for that help. There is so much help out there, paid or not, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. That we all have networks, and we all have people that they can hear us, that they can give us advice, that they people that have made it happen. Because also, like when it comes to advice, I know, like, advice, like the cheapest thing, but you get advice from the people that have made it happen. What you want to achieve, see what I mean, who is in your network that they are doing it already, and ask. There is nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. I mean,
And
what's
and I
the worst
think
that can
also
happen?
exactly, and appreciating that from any failure comes a lesson. And
Absolutely.
we're here to learn. I mean, and I think this again is like something we completely miss. We are here to learn. It is in the learning that we grow and we expand and we develop. So when something doesn't go the way we had hoped or planned, what am I taking from that? What do I need to extract from that? What's the important thing here? And then go again using that knowledge. I mean, when I say it, it's so funny because when I say it now, I'm just like, how did I not know that? Like, how did
Yeah.
I not know that? I mean, hello. But again, when you hear a message often enough, long enough from enough people, i.e., failure is bad, that's what you know, and that's what you see it as. So until you start doing the work, the journeying on yourself, and you start to explore and you start to look through life with a completely different lens, that is what you know, and that is what shows up, and that is what your judge brings up, your avoider, your controller, whoever. They will bring that forward because it's a pattern deeply embedded from a time when it intended to keep you safe. So always remember that the intention is safety.
Yes, but at the same time, as you said, I mean, we are very good in naming things good and bad without not criticizing, without like understanding them. At the end of the day, I've always thought that since we don't know the bigger picture, it's very hard to say whether something is good or bad. And even a failure can lead to a very good outcome, maybe an outcome that we have not really imagined from the start. But I mean, who is it to say that we have to be so attached to any outcome?
Indeed.
And why should we limit ourselves to an outcome that we think we can get if there are, several outcomes out there that could serve us even better than what we thought any outcome
Absolutely.
would serve. So
Yeah,
it is
100%.
it is important to understand that, yeah, I mean, just labeling things good and bad without really knowing what the meaning is, because nothing has meaning until we give it meaning. Then there is really nothing like there is no meaning in what if I fail. What
Yeah,
does it mean? What does it mean to each and every one of us?
yeah,
That's what meaning is of what if I
yeah,
fail.
indeed. And I think I did remember reading somewhere, and I can't remember who actually stated it, said the only failure is the failure to keep going. The only failure is the failure to keep going. It's a choice, but that may be the failure because you give up. You suddenly think, I've done this, I've done it once, I've done it twice. There's no way it's going to work. I'm not doing it anymore. And there is a time to know when something needs to be let go of. 100%. And there's a time to know, well, maybe it's just because I'm not seeing enough of this. And who, like you were saying, can I call in to kind of broaden that perspective so that I can perhaps have this go in a better way, or to get a better result. Because this good and bad thing is, I mean, they're just, what's good, what's bad. Out of some of the worst situations come some of the most fruitful and amazing and brilliant things. And we see this when we hear people's stories sometimes. Awful things. And then from that awful situation comes this whole other level of life. And you're just like, wow. But I bet when they were in it, they didn't
Didn't
see
feel.
or feel that, right? So, what if I fail for me? Yeah, go ahead, Evie.
No, I was just saying, like that's why I love the sage perspective, or like the perspective where our more wise us take hold of life, of our life, because in that state you are much more open to the possibility. You're much more open to potentially seeing or accepting the gift of whatever is happening right now. Because, okay, yes, you're very right. When you are in a situation that's very uncomfortable, very like looks bad for yourself, you are not prepared to see any gifts and opportunities and stuff like that. It's all words, yeah. But the bottom line is that when you are open to the possibility, and when you're not attached to the final outcome or what your life should have been like, because there are so many shoulds in our lives, aren't they?
Mhm.
And it is not, and feel bad about that, then, well, then you are in that saboteur state and you need to get out of it. And that is what I love about positive intelligence and the sage perspective, or the perspective of like, okay, being the openness, being ready to receive whatever comes, and make the best out of it, because everything has a gift in it. And I suppose that's my belief. But
Yeah.
anyone out there, just share what you think, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think just to back up this, what if I fail, is just if we remember that every attempt that we make is a step forward. Every attempt that we make, regardless of the outcome, is a step forward, because we've made the attempt. We've attempted to do something. And I always like to say attempt over try, because try always for me sounds a little bit wishy-washy, and I'm one foot in and I'm one foot out. So,
Yeah,
that in and of itself means that, well, maybe you're not even giving as much of yourself as you could, but you attempt to do something, then you are stepping forward. um, Even if it looks different than what you had in your mind, because just because you created that thing in your mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's actually going to be generated. And I'm not even going to go into the whole thing of all that. But there may be something bigger, there may be something more fulfilling, there may be something whatever on the other side. But yeah, so what if I fail? Let's kick that to the curb, because yeah, worst case scenario, you've just learned something that you didn't know before you did the thing. So we'll go with
absolutely.
that.
And I mean, let's all just look back and see one thing that has happened that at the time you felt that was bad, it was wrong, it was, like you failed, and yet something really good came out of it. We all have these experiences. Let's look at those evidence. This evidence, and then, um, work with
Remember.
that.
And
Yeah,
remember,
remember.
because, we're really good at forgetting those things. That's the whole point. We're really good at forgetting those things. We're really good at forgetting quite often the highlights, because we get stuck in the lowlights. So we need
Yeah.
to be able to go back and, okay, well, when have I been in this situation before where I felt like I was failing? Actually, what came out of that was this. Because if we need to kind of remind ourselves of those moments.
One,
Definitely.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so another myth. Evie, what's myth 2 for this week?
I'm not ready yet. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
You know,
this we. I mean, tell me you never had this. You never said this. I mean, I think I've said it every second word or every second thing I was doing a few years back. Um, Especially when we not started doing this, but like any time that it had to do with me going forward with exposing myself or putting myself out there. That was the phrase that was coming in my mind. Of course I'll do it, but I'm not ready yet. Of course I'll do it, but I'm not ready yet.
yeah.
Even and the absolute truth. I have evidence for that. I think in 2017, I started recording myself 5 minutes at a time, just for myself. Nobody has seen this footage. Maybe sometime I will share it. Just think about it. But I was recording myself just to give myself courage to get out there, just to let myself believe that yes, I can do a live without having any issue. I'm actually live. I wasn't even thinking of a live at the time. It's like, okay, I'll make some recordings because I need to do some work, and things need to be shared. And how am I going to do that? And I'm telling you that I'm not ready yet. It has been like playing like a broken record for a long time,
Yeah.
and it's a myth.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
about.
I mean, yeah, I'm not ready yet. I feel that it's probably another one that I haven't verbalized, but I have definitely experienced it. In particular, at the beginning of when I'm going to have to stick my head above the parapet. Now, I am not at all shy. I am confident. I don't worry about speaking out, but I would definitely have said, like, I would need to have had my script, kind of know what I'm saying, felt that safety that I had these guidelines to go with. There would have definitely been a time where I needed to be that ready to be ready, right? you know, definitely, definitely. Whereas now I'm just like, let's see what comes up. Let's see what happens. If it's really awful, and I won't swear, but if it's really awful, it'll have been an experience, and I'll just take that as that, and not make a big deal out of it, not make a big song and dance out of it. But yeah, but I'm not ready yet was definitely something that again was just very inside of me. And then, however, and I will say this, my personality is such that it would just be almost like, I don't care if you're not ready yet, you need to do it. So there would be this, so I would quite often have this little tug of war going on between, I'm not ready yet, and oh, get over yourself and just get it done. Then I would over prepare to do the thing. Yeah. Um,
No, I've been like, I have said that many times here, and I will say it again because I'm a procrastinator, and I know this was like the narrative playing in the back. And the more you say to yourself, "I'm not ready yet," the more you procrastinate, and you also have a very good excuse for procrastinating, and it becomes a vicious cycle, and it does absolutely nothing to your confidence. And it took some, like, seeing other people, from the beginning to the end, from the beginning of their career to what I was admiring, to understand that, well, nobody really is ready until they start doing the action. And it doesn't matter. In the beginning, we all suck. And hopefully I said that correctly, because my A's and my U's are like all over the place. But that's the case. It doesn't matter. Well,
yes.
so
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
that.
don't believe in I'm not ready yet. I
No.
believe in just do the thing now, and
I think
it's
I'm
fine.
not ready yet is just stuck in certainty. I need to be certain. Like, I need to have all the pieces. I need to have everything lined up. I need to this, that need. And then, but the thing is, you go down that route and then you just always tell yourself you haven't got enough pieces yet. So you're still looking for more pieces because the pieces you had aren't quite enough. You know, that is like just soul destroying. And
Yeah,
it's not the truth. It may feel real. So I think this is always important to say the feeling is real. That doesn't make it the truth. And
correct.
just as you said, Evie, readiness is built through action. If you want to feel ready, start doing something and get out of your head where those thoughts are just tripping over themselves and giving you multiple reasons why, oh my goodness, no, you're not ready yet. Oh my goodness, have you heard your voice? Oh my goodness, have you seen? Oh, stop. 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 Yeah.
It took me a long time to understand the expression "get out of your own way." A very long time, and I couldn't understand how people do that. And of course, I was caught up, like a lot of us, on the how, and it was very hard. But it is expressions like this, and the way our thoughts are playing in our minds, and of course positive intelligence, that made me realize what it means to get out of your own way and do it. And unfortunately, a lot of us are mostly the ones that are in our way rather than anything external. So
Yeah, yeah, we are. I almost want to say, we can be our best saboteur because our saboteurs are running the show, right? So
yeah,
that's why it's important to understand the patterns, understand how and if they're showing up for you, and then what you can do about them, because there are actions you can take so that they do not remain the blocks in your life, so you can access your wisdom. Because my gosh, when we think about, yeah, and I know I've probably said this a few times on these videos, when I think about the potential that we each have inside of us, it's like we have no right to leave this world with all of that unused, untapped, unshared. So we need to
absolutely.
get out of our own way. We need to get out of our own way. We need to see these patterns for what they are and move beyond them, because we are beyond them, literally.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
So we can
Yes.
we can move forward with, I suppose it does take courage, doesn't it, to decide that, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to listen to anyone externally or anyone internally that will be pulling me and trying to keep me small. But you know we don't really need to take every step with certainty. We just need to take steps, and
Absolutely.
we get
And
there
imperfect ones.
eventually. Yeah,
Imperfect ones.
absolutely.
So, again, drop the perfect thing, because it goes back to, as a baby, as a toddler, when you first stand up, are your first steps perfect? Well, maybe yours were, but mine certainly were not. Definitely say I hit that floor many, many, many times. Right? And we need some of that back, where we give ourselves the grace and the permission to, yeah, okay, that didn't quite go where I wanted it to go. But the world didn't end either. So what do I need to do to fine tune that? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to do more of, less of? Whatever that stuff is, that for me is the grace, where we do give ourselves permission. I'm experimenting, I'm exploring, I'm playing, I'm figuring stuff out. And you know what? On that ground, I completely understand that things will not always go how I'm seeing them or translating them in here. And that's okay. Completely.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So that's unless you've got anything else to add, Evie. For me, I think, what if I fail? I'm not ready yet. We've 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 gone through them. Please, if you're watching this live, leave a comment. If you're watching it on replay, kind of sit with it. And if you've got any thoughts or anything you want to share, please do. We're really open to hearing your thoughts, your experiences, and we're we're kind of on a mission to utilize the power of positive intelligence and other modalities that we each have and have access to really help our audience move out of their own way. And that's just a great term. I love that. to move out of their own way and start to access that beautiful wisdom and rite of passage that they have that's already here. But, we just haven't, let's be honest, for many of us, we haven't been taught how to access it.
That's it.
But today is a new day.
For sure. And I believe we are going to do something that is going to hopefully help you figure that out in a short period of time. But
Yes.
that's coming up.
That's coming up. Watch this space. We'll be sharing more about that as we go. But that's it for today. With our myth busting. We will be back with a couple of more little myths next week, and we will be sharing a little bit more about what it is that we're planning to do to really kind of start taking people on this journey, because it matters. It deeply matters to us. If we want to see, on the bigger picture side, and I know I should shut up, but I'm not going to. If we want to see a world that is more fruitful, more kind, more gracious, more beautiful than the one we're currently living in, we need to start tapping into our potential and our wisdom, and positive intelligence is one way of helping us to do just that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. So well said, Yvonne. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those watching in, listening on replay. We appreciate you, and we will see you next week, same time.